Marcus Johnson wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked down the long hallway of the colony ship. His tool bag hung heavy on his shoulder, filled with the usual things he needed for repairs. Screwdrivers, wire cutters, electrical tape, and a flashlight that had seen better days. The ship hummed quietly around him, a sound he had grown used to after 3 years of working on the New Horizon. The call had come in 20 minutes ago. Another broken light, this time in the science quarters. Marcus did not mind these simple jobs. They were easy compared to fixing the main engines or dealing with the water recycling systems. A bathroom light was something he could fix in 10 minutes and move on to the next problem. He found the right door and pressed the call button. The door slid open with a soft whoosh, and Elena Rodriguez stood there with a smile on her face. She was one of the scientists who studied alien life forms, though they had not found any aliens yet. Her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she wore the standard blue uniform that all scientists on the ship wore. "Thank you for coming so quickly," Elena said, stepping aside to let him in. "The light has been flickering for 2 days now. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. This morning it just stopped working completely." Marcus nodded and looked around her quarters. They were larger than his own small room, with a bed, a desk covered in research papers, and a small bathroom off to the side. Everything was clean and organized, very different from his own messy workshop down in the maintenance section. "No problem," Marcus said, setting his tool bag down near the bathroom door. "These old lights give us trouble all the time. The wiring gets loose after a few years of traveling through space. Nothing major." He stepped into the small bathroom and looked up at the light fixture. It was one of the older models, installed when the ship was first built 5 years ago. The plastic cover was yellowed with age, and he could see scorch marks around the edges where the heat had damaged it over time. Elena stood in the doorway, watching him work. "I have to ask," she said, "how do you always know what is wrong with things? I mean, I can study alien microorganisms under a microscope, but if my computer breaks, I am completely lost." Marcus pulled out his screwdriver and began removing the screws that held the light cover in place. "It is not that hard once you understand how things work," he said. "Everything runs on the same basic ideas. Power goes in, power goes out. If something is not working, you just have to figure out where the power is getting stuck. But there are so many different systems on this ship," Elena said. "The environmental controls, the engines, the computers. They all seem so complicated." The light cover came free and Marcus set it carefully on the bathroom counter. Inside, he could see the problem right away. One of the wires had come loose from its connection, probably from the ship's vibrations during their long journey. The wire was blackened at the tip, showing it had been arcing for a while. "They are complicated," Marcus agreed, reaching into his tool bag for his wire strippers. "But when you break them down to their basic parts, they are all just circuits and connections. Electricity flows from one place to another. If it is not flowing, something is blocking it, or a connection is broken. If too much is flowing, something is overloaded. Once you understand that, you can fix almost anything." He stripped the burned end off the wire and twisted it back onto its proper connection. The metal gleamed silver and clean in the bathroom. Light from the hallway. Elena watched him work with interest. "The aliens we might meet someday," she said. "Do you think they fix things the same way we do?" Marcus tested the connection by pulling gently on the wire. It held firm. "I doubt it," he said. "From what I have read in the science reports, most of the theoretical alien technology is way more advanced than ours. They probably have machines that fix other machines. Everything automated and perfect." "That sounds nice," Elena said. "No more broken lights or clogged air filters." "Maybe," Marcus said, replacing the light cover and tightening the screws. "But what happens when the machine that fixes machines breaks down? Who fixes that one?" Elena laughed. "I never thought about that. I guess they would need an even more advanced machine to fix the first machine." "Exactly," Marcus said, putting his screwdriver away. "And then what fixes that one? At some point, someone has to get their hands dirty and actually understand how things work." He flipped the light switch, and the bathroom filled with bright, steady light. No flickering, no buzzing, just clean white light that would probably last another few years. Perfect, Elena said, clapping her hands together. You make it look so easy. Most problems are easy once you know what to look for, Marcus said, picking up his tool bag. The hard part is not being afraid to take things apart and see how they work. Elena followed him back into the main room. I wish I had that kind of confidence with technology, she said. When something breaks in my lab, I just call you or one of your team. I would probably make things worse if I tried to fix them myself. You would be surprised, Marcus said. Smart people like you usually pick it up pretty fast. It is just a matter of practice and not being afraid to make mistakes. As Marcus headed toward the door, Elena's computer terminal chimed with an incoming message. She glanced at it and frowned. That is strange, she said. There is supposed to be a ship-wide announcement in a few minutes. Something about receiving an emergency signal. Marcus paused at the door. Emergency signal? From where? We are months away from any human colonies. I do not know, Elena said, reading the message more carefully. It just says all department heads need to report to the bridge immediately, and everyone else should stay in their quarters until further notice. Before Marcus could respond, the ship's announcement system crackled to life. Captain Harrison's voice filled the room, calm but serious. Attention all crew members. We have received a distress signal from an unknown vessel. This appears to be our first contact with non-human intelligence. All department heads report to the bridge immediately. All other crew members remain in your current locations until further orders. This is not a drill. Marcus and Elena looked at each other in silence. After 5 years of traveling through space, looking for new worlds and wondering if they were alone in the universe, the answer had finally found them. Well, Marcus said quietly, I guess we are about to find out how aliens fix their broken lights. Marcus made his way to the observation deck after Captain Harrison's announcement. He was not a department head, but his curiosity got the better of him. Through the large windows, he could see something that made his breath catch in his throat. A massive ship floated in the darkness of space, easily 3 times the size of the New Horizon. Its hull was a strange blue-green color that seemed to shift and change as he watched. Parts of it were clearly damaged, with sections torn open, and debris floating around it like a metal cloud. Elena appeared beside him, her face pressed against the window. Have you ever seen anything like that? She whispered. Never, Marcus replied. Look at the way it is built. No straight lines anywhere. Everything curves and flows together like it grew instead of being constructed. Other crew members began gathering at the windows, all talking in hushed voices. The alien ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It was clearly advanced beyond anything humans had ever built, but it was also clearly dying. Lights flickered along its surface in patterns that made no sense, and Marcus could see atmosphere venting from several hull breaches. Captain Harrison's voice came over the intercom again. Attention all crew, we have successfully established communication with the alien vessel. They have identified themselves as representatives of the Kepler Coalition. They are requesting emergency assistance. Rescue teams prepare for immediate deployment. Marcus watched as the New Horizons shuttle bay doors opened and 3 small rescue ships launched toward the alien vessel. The shuttles looked like toys next to the massive alien ship, but they moved carefully toward what appeared to be a docking port near the front of the vessel. 2 hours later, Marcus was back in his workshop when Elena knocked on his door. She looked excited and worried at the same time. They brought them aboard, she said, stepping into his cluttered workspace. 12 aliens total. They called themselves the Kepler Coalition, and they are refugees. Marcus set down the power coupling he had been repairing. Refugees? From what? Something terrible, Elena said, sitting on his work stool. I was in the medical bay helping Dr. Foster when they brought the alien leader in for examination. His name is Zethkar, and he can speak our language through some kind of translation device. He told us their entire star system is being destroyed. Destroyed? By what? Marcus asked. A black hole, Elena said quietly, but not a natural one. According to Zethkar, it was created by another alien race as a weapon. They call them the Devourers. They make black holes to consume entire star systems and harvest the energy. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. And these Kepler Coalition people escaped? Barely, Elena said. Zethkar's ship was one of the last to get away, but it was badly damaged during their escape. That is why they sent the distress signal. Their ship is dying and they cannot repair it. Cannot repair it? But their technology looks incredibly advanced. Elena nodded. That is the strange part. Dr. Foster examined Zethkar and 2 of his crew members. They are humanoid but with longer limbs and pale blue skin. Their internal organs are similar to ours but more efficient. But here is the interesting thing. They told her that their ship's repair systems are completely automated. They do not actually know how to fix things manually. Marcus raised his eyebrows. They do not know how to fix their own ship? Apparently not, Elena said. Everything on their ship is controlled by quantum computers that can analyze problems and make repairs, automatically. But the damage from their escape was so severe that the computers cannot figure out how to fix it. The quantum systems keep trying the same solutions over and over, but nothing works. What about their engineers? Surely someone knows how their technology works. That is just it, Elena said. They do not have engineers like you. They have technicians who can operate the quantum systems and scientists who understand the theory, but no one who actually builds or repairs things with their hands. Everything has been automated for so long that they have forgotten how to do manual work. Marcus stood up and began pacing around his small workshop. The walls were covered with spare parts, tools, and diagrams he had drawn to help him understand various ship systems. So what happens to them now? Captain Harrison offered to help, Elena said. But when Dr. Foster suggested that our engineering team might be able to look at their ship, Zethkar was polite but dismissive. He thanked us for the offer but said that human technology is too primitive to understand quantum matrices and dimensional resonators. Quantum matrices? Marcus laughed. I do not even know what that means. Neither do I, Elena said. But I could see the frustration in Dr. Foster's eyes. She wants to help, but the aliens think we are too backward to be useful. Marcus stopped pacing and looked at Elena. Are they dying? Slowly, she said sadly. Their ship's life support systems are failing bit by bit. The quantum computers keep trying to compensate, but every fix creates new problems. Zethkar estimates they have maybe 2 weeks before the ship becomes completely uninhabitable, and then what? Then 12 aliens die because they are too proud to let primitive humans help them, Elena said with frustration in her voice. Marcus picked up a simple wrench from his workbench and turned it over in his hands. You know what I think? I think their technology is too smart for its own good. What do you mean? Think about it, Marcus said. When my bathroom light broke this morning, my first instinct was not to run a diagnostic program or analyze the quantum fluctuations. I took the cover off and looked at the wires. Simple. Direct. When I found the loose connection, I fixed it with my hands and some basic tools. Elena nodded slowly. But their computers would have run thousands of calculations, trying to determine the optimal repair sequence. Exactly, Marcus said. And while the computer was thinking, the light stayed broken. Sometimes the simple solution is the right solution. But their technology is so much more advanced than ours, Elena protested. Is it? Marcus asked. Or is it just more complicated? There is a difference between advanced and better. Elena was quiet for a moment, thinking. Dr. Foster mentioned something interesting, she finally said. When she was examining the aliens, she noticed they all had very soft hands. No calluses, no scars, no signs of manual labor. She said their hands looked like they had never built or fixed anything. That explains a lot, Marcus said. Marcus. You cannot really understand how something works unless you have taken it apart and put it back together with your own hands. All the theory in the world cannot replace that kind of experience. So what do? Elena asked. Marcus set the wrench down and looked at her seriously. We wait. Eventually, their pride will have to give way to their survival instinct. When that happens, maybe they will let a primitive human take a look at their quantum whatever it is. And you think you could help them? Marcus shrugged. I do not know anything about quantum computers or dimensional resonators, but I know about power flow and circuit logic, and how to bypass broken systems. If their ship runs on any kind of energy that flows from one place to another, then maybe I can figure something out. Elena smiled for the first time since she had arrived. You really think everything is just circuits and connections, do not you? Pretty much, Marcus said. The aliens might have fancier names for things, but at the end of the day, energy has to flow and connections have to be made. The laws of physics work the same way for everyone. Before Elena could respond, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Again. This time it was Dr. Foster's voice and she sounded urgent. Medical emergency. All available personnel to medical bay immediately. We have alien crew members showing signs of system failure. Marcus and Elena looked at each other and ran for the door. Marcus and Elena rushed through the corridors toward the medical bay. Other crew members were hurrying in the same direction, their faces showing worry and confusion. When they arrived, they found Dr. Foster working frantically over one of the alien crew members who was lying on a medical bed. The alien's pale blue skin had turned an unhealthy gray color, and his breathing was shallow and rapid. Strange purple veins were visible under his skin, pulsing with an unnatural light. Two other aliens stood nearby, including Zethkar, watching with expressions that Marcus could only describe as helpless fear. What is happening to him? Elena asked Dr. Foster quietly. System toxicity poisoning, Dr. Foster replied without looking up from her patient. At least that is what Zethkar calls it. The failing life support systems on their ship are releasing chemicals into the air that are slowly poisoning them. Marcus looked at the sick alien, and then at Zethkar. The alien leader was tall and thin, with long fingers and large dark eyes. His skin was the color of pale morning sky, and he wore a simple gray uniform that seemed to be made of some kind of metallic fabric. How long do they have? Marcus asked. Zethkar turned his large eyes toward Marcus. When he spoke, his voice came through the small translation device attached to his chest. The words were clear but had a strange musical quality to them. Perhaps 3 of your days, Zethkar said sadly. The quantum matrices that control our environmental systems are caught in diagnostic loops. They detect the contamination and attempt repairs, but each repair creates new problems. The systems are destroying themselves, trying to fix themselves. Dr. Foster looked up from her patient with frustration written across her face. I can treat the symptoms, but I cannot stop the source. The poison is coming from their ship's air recycling system. Can we move all the aliens to our ship? Elena asked. We have already discussed this, Zethkar replied. Your atmospheric composition is close to ours, but not exact. We can survive here for a short time, but our biology requires certain trace elements that your life support does not provide. Without those elements, we will die just as surely as from the poisoning. Marcus stepped closer to the alien leader. What about fixing your ship's life support system? Zethkar's expression became what Marcus interpreted as polite dismissal. Your offer is kind, Marcus of the maintenance sector, but your technology cannot interface with our quantum systems. The complexity is beyond human understanding. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? Marcus asked seriously. The question seemed to confuse Zethkar. Turn it off? The quantum matrices cannot be simply deactivated. They are integrated into every system of the ship. To shut them down would mean the death of the entire vessel, Doctor. Foster paused in her work and looked at Marcus. What are you thinking? I am thinking that sometimes the most advanced solution is not the best solution, Marcus said. He turned back to Zethkar. You said your systems are stuck in diagnostic loops. They keep trying the same repairs over and over, right? That is correct, Zethkar replied. So the computers are too smart to try simple solutions, Marcus continued. They are looking for complex quantum fixes when maybe all you need is a simple bypass. Elena moved closer to the conversation. Like when the water recycling system on our ship got stuck last year. The main computer kept trying to recalibrate the filtration matrices, but Marcus just manually opened and closed some valves to reset the flow. Exactly, Marcus said. Sometimes you have to work around the smart systems, not with them. Zethkar looked uncertain. But our technology operates on principles that human science has not yet discovered. Quantum entanglement. Dimensional resonance. Matter-energy conversion at the subatomic level. I do not need to understand quantum entanglement to understand that air has to flow from one place to another, Marcus replied. I do not need to know about dimensional resonance to know that filters get clogged and pipes get blocked. Dr. Foster's patient began coughing and purple fluid came from his mouth. She quickly turned him on his side and cleaned his airway. We are running out of time, she said urgently. Whatever we are going to do, we need to do it soon. Another alien crew member, younger than the others, stepped forward. Zethkar, perhaps we should consider their offer. The ancient ways spoke of manual intervention in times of crisis. Zethkar looked surprised. Telani, those are old stories from before the Great Automation. No one has performed manual repairs in over 1,000 of your years. Because no one has needed to, Telani replied. But we have never faced a situation like this before. The quantum matrices were designed to handle normal operations and minor damage. They were not designed to cope with the massive trauma our ship suffered during the escape. Marcus felt hope rising in his chest. Let me at least look at your systems. I am not asking to touch anything important. Just let me see how the life support works. Maybe I can spot something your computers are missing. Zethkar was quiet for a long moment, his large eyes moving between Marcus and his dying crew member. Finally he spoke. Very well. But you must understand that if you damage our systems further, you will have doomed us all. Understood, Marcus said. But if I do nothing, you are doomed anyway. Dr. Foster looked up from her patient again. I need to warn you both, she said to Marcus and Zethkar. 2 more aliens are starting to show early symptoms. The gray skin color and the purple veins. We have maybe 12 hours before they are as bad as this one. Elena grabbed Marcus's arm. Are you sure about this? What if their technology really is too advanced for us to understand? Marcus looked at the sick alien on the medical table, then at the other aliens who were trying to hide their own growing symptoms. Then we are no worse off than we are now, he said. But I have a feeling that once you strip away all the quantum this and dimensional that, we are going to find the same basic problems we deal with every day. Blocked passages, broken connections, and systems that are too complicated for their own good. Zethkar made a sound that the translator interpreted as a sigh. Very well. I will take you to our ship. But I must warn you that what you will see may be overwhelming. Our technology has evolved far beyond simple mechanical systems. We will see about that, Marcus said, picking up his tool bag from where he had dropped it when they rushed into the medical bay. As they prepared to leave for the alien ship, Dr. Foster called out to them. Marcus, whatever you're planning to do, do it fast. I just ran some tests on the air samples from their ship. The contamination levels are increasing exponentially. At this rate, even the healthy aliens will start showing symptoms within hours. Arcus nodded grimly and followed Zethkar toward the shuttle bay. Behind them, Elena gathered her scientific equipment and hurried to catch up. I hope you know what you are doing, she said quietly to Marcus as they walked. So do I, Marcus replied. But sometimes you just have to trust that the basics are the same everywhere. Air flows, power flows, and when something is broken there is usually a simple reason why. As they approached the shuttle that would take them to the alien ship, Marcus could not help but wonder if he was about to face technology so advanced that human thinking could not comprehend it, or if he was about to discover that aliens had simply forgotten how to get their hands dirty. The shuttle docked with the alien ship with a soft clang that echoed through the hull. Marcus felt his stomach flutter with nervousness as the airlock sealed and pressurized. He was about to step onto an alien vessel built by a civilization thousands of years more advanced than humanity. Elena squeezed his shoulder reassuringly as Zethkar activated the door controls. The first thing Marcus noticed was the smell. The air had a sharp metallic taste that made his nose burn slightly. The second thing he noticed was how everything seemed to glow with a soft blue light that came from the walls themselves. There were no light fixtures that he could see, just surfaces that emitted a gentle luminescence. Your quantum matrices, Marcus said, looking around the corridor they had entered. Do they control everything on the ship? Everything, Zethkar confirmed. environmental systems, propulsion, life, support, structural integrity, all connected through quantum entanglement networks that can make decisions faster than biological thought. Marcus nodded and pulled out his multimeter, a simple device that could measure electrical current and voltage. Zethkar looked at the crude instrument with what might have been amusement. "That device will not be able to interface with our systems," the alien said gently. "Our energy does not flow through simple electrical circuits." "Maybe not," Marcus said. "But energy is energy. If power is moving from one place to another, this should be able to detect it somehow." They walked deeper into the ship, and Marcus began to understand what Zethkar meant about the technology being overwhelming. Every surface seemed to be alive with moving patterns of light. Symbols and diagrams flowed across the walls like living text, constantly changing and rearranging themselves. The corridors curved in impossible ways that hurt his eyes to follow. But underneath all the visual complexity, Marcus began to notice familiar patterns. The flow of the light patterns reminded him of electrical current moving through circuits. The way the walls pulsed with energy looked similar to the power distribution he saw in the New Horizons engine room. "Where is your life support center?" Marcus asked. Zethkar led them to a large chamber filled with floating geometric shapes that spun slowly in the air. Each shape was covered with flowing symbols and connected to the others by beams of colored light. The room hummed with a deep, resonant sound that Marcus could feel in his bones. "This is the environmental control matrix," Zethkar explained. "These quantum processors monitor and adjust atmospheric composition, temperature, pressure, and contamination filtration." Marcus walked around the room, holding his multimeter in different directions. To his surprise, the device began picking up readings, electrical fields, magnetic fluctuations, even some basic current measurements. The alien technology might be using quantum mechanics, but it was still manipulating energy in ways his simple tools could detect. "Elena," Marcus called. "Are you getting readings on your equipment?" Elena was using a handheld scanner that could analyze air composition. "Yes," she said with excitement. "I am detecting the contamination sources. It looks like there are 3 main problem areas where toxic compounds are building up." Marcus looked at the spinning quantum processors and noticed something interesting. 3 of the geometric shapes were spinning faster than the others, and their light patterns were more chaotic. They were also generating more heat, which his multimeter was picking up as increased electromagnetic activity. "Those 3, Marcus pointed at the overactive processors. "I bet they are the ones stuck in diagnostic loops." Zethkar looked where Marcus was pointing. "How did you know that?" "The visual indicators should be meaningless to human perception. They are spinning faster and running hotter than the others," Marcus said simply. "When our computers get stuck in loops, they do the same thing. They work harder and harder trying to solve a problem they cannot solve." Elena moved closer to one of the problem processors with her scanner. "Marcus, the contamination is highest right around these 3 units. I think they are the ones causing the problem, not trying to fix it." Marcus nodded. "They are probably trying so hard to clean the air that they are burning out their own filtration systems and making more toxins in the process." Zethkar looked confused. "But that is impossible. The quantum matrices are designed to optimize all processes automatically. They cannot make a situation worse." "Sure they can," Marcus said, pulling out a length of copper wire from his tool bag. "If they are programmed to keep trying the same solution over and over, and that solution does not work, they will just keep making the problem bigger." "What are you doing with that primitive conductor?" Zethkar asked nervously as Marcus began stripping the ends of the wire. "I am going to give those overworked processors a break," Marcus said. He studied the room carefully, tracing the paths of light that connected the spinning shapes. "Your quantum computers are trying to route all the air filtration through those 3 units, right? What if we bypass them completely and let the other processors handle the work?" "Bypass them?" Zethkar sounded horrified. "You cannot simply bypass quantum entanglement networks. The mathematics alone would require—" "I do not need to understand the mathematics," Marcus interrupted. "I just need to redirect the flow." He pointed to 2 areas where beams of light converged near the problematic processors. If I can connect these 2 points directly, the energy will flow around the stuck processors instead of through them. Elena looked at her scanner readings. Marcus, if you can reduce the load on those 3 units, the contamination levels should drop significantly. Marcus approached one of the light convergence points carefully. Up close, he could see that beneath the flowing quantum displays there were actual physical components, crystalline structures that glowed with internal light, connected by what looked like fiber optic cables made of some unknown material. This is not so different from the fiber optic networks on our ship, Marcus muttered to himself. Just fancier looking. He touched his multimeter probes to 2 of the crystal structures and got a strong reading. Energy was definitely flowing between them, just like electricity flowing through wires. If he could create a new path for that energy, it would bypass the overloaded processors. Please be careful, Zethkar pleaded. If you damage the matrix connections, the entire environmental system could collapse. And if I do nothing, your people die anyway, Marcus replied. He took his copper wire and carefully connected it between 2 crystal structures, creating a bridge that bypassed one of the spinning processors. The effect was immediate. The overactive processor began spinning slower, its chaotic light patterns becoming more organized. The deep humming sound in the room changed pitch, becoming smoother and less strained. Elena checked her scanner. Contamination levels are dropping, she announced with excitement. Whatever you just did, it is working. Encouraged, Marcus repeated the process with the other 2 problematic processors. Each time he created a bypass with his simple copper wire, the quantum systems became more stable. The spinning shape slowed to match the rhythm of the healthy processors, and the toxic readings on Elena's scanner continued to fall. I do not understand, Zethkar said, staring at the crude copper wires that were now integrated into his ship's most advanced systems. How can simple metal conductors interface with quantum entanglement networks? Marcus packed up his tools and looked at the alien leader with a smile. Because underneath all the quantum stuff, you still have energy flowing from one place to another. When that flow gets stuck or overloaded, you need to give it a new path. It does not matter if the energy is photons or electrons or quantum whatever. The basic principles are the same. Elena's scanner beeped with an all-clear signal. Contamination levels are now within safe parameters, she announced. The air should be breathable again. Zethkar touched his translation device and spoke rapidly, in his own language to the other aliens who had remained on their ship. Their responses sounded relieved and amazed. They confirm that they can breathe normally again, Zethkar said to Marcus. The environmental systems are functioning properly for the first time since our escape. Marcus picked up his tool bag and looked around the chamber one more time. Copper wire and quantum processors working together in perfect harmony. Sometimes the old ways and the new ways can help each other, he said. As they prepared to return to the new horizon, Zethkar placed a long, thin hand on Marcus's shoulder. You have saved our lives with tools that our civilization abandoned millennia ago. Perhaps we have become too dependent on our quantum matrices. Maybe, Marcus said, but your matrices are not bad. They just needed someone to think outside their programming. That is what humans are good at. Back on the new horizon, Dr. Foster was amazed by the recovery of the alien crew members. The gray color had faded from their skin, and the purple veins were no longer visible. The aliens who had been showing early symptoms were completely healthy, again. The one who had been near death was sitting up and talking with his fellow crew members. Marcus sat in the ship's meeting room with Captain Harrison, Elena, and the senior staff. Zethkar had requested this gathering to share important information, and Marcus could tell from the alien leader's expression that the news would not be good. Before we begin, Captain Harrison said, I want to thank Marcus for his incredible work today. You saved lives with nothing but basic tools and human ingenuity. The other officers nodded and smiled at Marcus, but he felt uncomfortable with the attention. I just did what needed to be done, he said quietly. Zethkar stood at the head of the table, his tall frame making him tower over the seated humans. What Marcus accomplished today has given me much to think about, the alien said through his translator. For too long, My people have believed that more advanced always means better. Today, a human with simple tools solved a problem that our greatest quantum computers could not handle. Elena leaned forward in her chair. Zethkar, you mentioned before that your people are refugees. Can you tell us more about what happened to your star system? The alien leader's large eyes seemed to grow sad. Very well. You have earned the right to know the full truth about what we face. He touched a control on his translator, and a holographic display appeared above the table. The hologram showed a star system with multiple planets orbiting a bright yellow sun. Cities glowed on several of the worlds, connected by streams of light that Marcus guessed were space traffic between the planets. This was our home, Zethkar said. The Kepler coalition consisted of 12 inhabited worlds, with a total population of nearly 50 billion beings. Our civilization had existed peacefully for over 10,000 years. The hologram changed, showing massive black ships approaching the star system. They were ugly things, all sharp angles and dark metal, completely different from the flowing curves of Zethkar's vessel. The Devourers came without warning, Zethkar continued. We had detected their approach months before, but their technology seemed so primitive compared to ours that we did not consider them a threat. Marcus studied the black ships in the hologram. They do not look very advanced, he agreed. That was our mistake, Zethkar said sadly. We sent our most sophisticated quantum warships to meet them, ships that could calculate millions of battle scenarios in seconds and adjust their tactics automatically. The hologram showed the battle, and Marcus watched in horror as the elegant alien ships were systematically destroyed by the crude-looking Devourer vessels. How did they defeat you? Captain Harrison asked. Your ships look much more advanced. Because their technology was not more advanced, Zethkar explained. It was different, unpredictable. Our quantum computers tried to analyze their weapons and tactics, but the Devourers did not follow any logical patterns. They used brute force, random attacks, and equipment that should not have worked according to our understanding of physics. Elena made a connection. Like how Marcus's copper wire should not have been able to interface with your quantum systems, but it did anyway. Exactly, Zethkar said. Our automated defense systems kept trying to find elegant solutions to counter their attacks. Meanwhile, the Devourers simply overwhelmed us with crude but effective weapons. The hologram changed, again showing something that made Marcus's blood run cold. A massive artificial black hole appeared in the center of the star system, pulling everything toward it. Planets, ships, even the star itself began to stretch and distort as they were consumed. They have a weapon that creates black holes? Dr. Foster asked in disbelief. Not creates, Zethkar corrected. They convert existing matter into collapsed space-time. It is not elegant technology like ours. It is brutal and wasteful, but terrifyingly effective. Within days, our entire civilization was being devoured. Marcus stared at the hologram as it showed the complete destruction of the alien star system. How many of you escaped? Perhaps a few thousand, Zethkar said quietly. Scattered across, dozens of ships that fled in different directions. My vessel carried refugees from 3 different worlds. Captain Harrison leaned back in his chair. And now these Devourers are heading toward human space? Zethkar nodded grimly. Our long range. Sensors detected their fleet changing course after they finished consuming our system. They are following the quantum trail left by our escape ships. Quantum trail? Elena asked. Our faster-than-light technology leaves detectable traces, Zethkar explained. The Devourers can follow these trails to find other civilizations. They will reach the outer edges of human space within 2 of your years. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. An enemy that had destroyed an entire advanced civilization was coming for Earth and all the human colonies. What about other alien civilizations? Marcus asked. Surely someone can help fight them. The Devourers have been consuming star systems for centuries, Zethkar replied. They target civilizations with advanced quantum technology first because those civilizations always make the same mistake we did. They rely too heavily on automated systems and predictable tactics. Commander Park, the ship's security chief, spoke up. What about less advanced civilizations? Have any of them successfully fought off the Devourers? Zethkar paused, thinking carefully. There are stories, he said slowly. Rumors of primitive worlds that somehow survived Devourer attacks. But we always dismissed these stories as impossible. How could a civilization without quantum technology defeat an enemy that destroys advanced civilizations? Marcus felt something click in his mind. Because primitive civilizations do not rely on predictable automated systems, he said. They improvise, they adapt, they use whatever works, even if it should not work. Elena's eyes widened as she understood. Like how you fixed our ship with copper wire and basic tools. The Devourer's technology is probably designed to counter advanced quantum systems, not simple manual solutions. Captain Harrison stood up and began pacing. So, you are saying that humanity's technological level might actually be an advantage against these Devourers? It is possible, Zethkar said, but Marcus could hear doubt in the alien's voice. Your species does seem to have an unusual talent for finding unconventional solutions to problems. Marcus thought about everything he had learned. The Devourers target quantum civilizations because quantum technology is predictable. The computers always try to find the most logical, efficient solution. But humans do not always choose the logical solution. We choose the solution that works. Dr. Foster nodded slowly. And our technology is diverse. We do not have one standardized system like the quantum matrices. Every human ship, every human weapon, every human tool is built slightly differently, which means the Devourers cannot analyze our technology and develop standard countermeasures, Commander Park added with growing excitement. Zethkar looked around the table at the humans who were already beginning to plan how to fight an enemy that had destroyed his entire civilization. You truly believe you can defeat them? Marcus picked up his simple multimeter from the table and looked at it. I do not know if we can defeat them, he said honestly. But I know one thing for sure. When the Devourers analyze human technology, they are going to find something they have never encountered before. What is that? Zethkar asked. Marcus smiled grimly. Technology that runs on duct tape, determination, and the absolute refusal to let anything stay broken for long. Captain Harrison moved to the communication console. I need to send an emergency message to Earth Command immediately. We have a war to prepare for. As the meeting broke up and people began hurrying to their stations, Elena caught Marcus's arm. Do you really think we can fight them? Marcus looked out the window at the alien ship floating nearby, its elegant curves now patched with human-made repairs that somehow made it stronger than before. Elena, he said quietly. Those Devourers have never fought anyone who thinks that. The right answer is whatever answer actually works. They are about to get a very unpleasant surprise. 6 months had passed since the New Horizon first encountered Zethkar and his crew. Marcus stood in what used to be the ship's main cargo bay, but which had now been converted into something completely unprecedented in galactic history, a workshop, where humans and aliens worked side by side, fixing things with their hands. The bay was filled with workbenches covered in both human tools and alien technology. Copper wire was wrapped around quantum crystals. Duct tape held dimensional resonators. Together, a human engineer named Jake was teaching a young alien how to use a simple wrench, while an alien technician showed Elena how to read quantum energy patterns with nothing more than a modified multimeter. Marcus was working on his latest project, something that would have been impossible to imagine just months ago. He was building a hybrid weapon system that combined human engineering with alien technology. The device looked ridiculous, with quantum processors held in place by metal brackets and cooling fans salvaged from old computers. But his tests showed it was more effective than either technology could achieve alone. How are we doing on the new ship modifications? Marcus asked Elena, who was documenting everything they learned in case other human ships needed the information. Better than expected, Elena replied, looking up from her notes. We now have 12 more refugee ships in the fleet, and each one has at least 2 human engineers aboard. The aliens are starting to understand the value of manual problem solving. Marcus nodded and looked around the workshop. When Earth Command had received Captain Harrison's emergency message, they had responded faster than anyone expected. Within 2 months, 3 more human ships had arrived with supplies and personnel. But more importantly, they had brought something the aliens had never seen before. A diverse fleet where no 2 ships were exactly alike. The human ships included military vessels, cargo haulers, research ships, and even a few civilian craft that had volunteered for the mission. Each one had been built by different companies, using different technologies and different approaches to solving the same basic problems. To the aliens, this seemed chaotic and inefficient. To Marcus, it was humanity's greatest strength. "Marcus," came Zethkar's voice from across the workshop. The alien leader approached carrying a tablet that displayed sensor readings. "We have received confirmation. The Devourer fleet has entered the outer system. They will reach the main defense line in 18 hours. Marcus set down his tools and looked at the readings. The enemy fleet was massive, easily 100 ships of various sizes. But Marcus had seen these sensors before, and something about the readings bothered him. "Their ships all look identical," Marcus observed. "Same energy signatures, same quantum frequencies, same everything." "Yes," Zethkar confirmed. "The Devourers use standardized technology across their entire fleet. It makes their ships easier to mass produce and maintain." Elena looked up from her documentation. "That is exactly what we were hoping for," she said with a smile. Over the past 6 months, Marcus and the other human engineers had been working on a theory. If the Devourers used standardized technology, then they would have standard countermeasures for the kinds of quantum weapons they expected to face. But human technology was not standardized. Every human ship had been modified and jury-rigged in different ways over years of use. "Are all the human ships ready?" Marcus asked. "As ready as they can be," Zethkar replied. "Though I must admit, your preparations look nothing like any military strategy I have ever seen." Marcus laughed. That was an understatement. The human fleet was a collection of ships that should not have been able to work together. They used different communication systems, different weapon types, and different tactical approaches. Some ships had been fitted with alien quantum drives, while others relied on purely human technology. Several ships had been deliberately damaged and repaired with whatever materials were available, creating unique configurations that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. "Remember," Marcus said to Zethkar, "the goal is not to look professional. The goal is to be unpredictable." Commander Park's voice came over the intercom. "All hands to battle stations. Enemy contact in 30 minutes. Marcus picked up his tool bag, which had become something of a good luck charm for the human crews. Time to see if crazy human engineering can beat advanced alien technology. The battle began exactly as everyone expected. The Devourer ships moved in perfect formation, their weapons firing in coordinated patterns that should have overwhelmed any defense. Their quantum computers analyzed the human fleet and began adapting their tactics to counter what they detected. But what they detected made no sense. The first human ship they encountered was the cargo hauler Prairie Wind, which had been modified, with alien shields but still used human projectile weapons. When the Devourers tried to counter the ship's quantum defenses, the Prairie Wind simply shut off its alien systems and fought with pure kinetic energy that the enemy computers could not predict. The second ship, a research vessel called Discovery, was using quantum weapons but had deliberately damaged its targeting systems. Instead of the precise calculated attacks the Devourers expected, the Discovery fired randomly, creating chaos that disrupted the enemy formation. Marcus watched the battle from the bridge of the New Horizon, which had become the unofficial flagship of the Human-Alien Alliance. Captain Harrison was coordinating the fleet, but the real coordination was happening at a level the Devourers could not understand. Each human ship was making independent decisions, adapting to the battle in real time, using whatever tactics worked in the moment. "Their computers cannot predict us," Elena observed, watching the tactical display. "Every time they adapt to one ship's strategy, another ship does something completely different." The turning point came when the Devourer flagship, a massive vessel that had destroyed hundreds of quantum civilizations, encountered Marcus's own contribution to the battle. The New Horizon had been fitted with every type of weapon system they could find. Human lasers, alien quantum cannons, projectile weapons, energy shields, and even some systems that Marcus had built from spare parts and determination. When the Devourer flagship tried to analyze the New Horizon's capabilities, its computers overloaded. The ship was simultaneously detecting Stone Age technology and advanced quantum systems, military weapons and civilian equipment, functional systems, and jury-rigged repairs that should not have worked but somehow did. Their flagship is dead in space, Commander Park reported with excitement. Their quantum computers appear to have crashed trying to process our configuration. Marcus smiled as he watched more Devourer ships suffering the same fate. Their advanced computers, designed to quickly analyze and counter sophisticated quantum civilizations, were breaking down when faced with technology that followed no logical patterns. "Look at this," Elena said, pointing to her sensors. "The Devourers are retreating. They are actually running away." Zethkar stared at the display in amazement. In all the records of their conquests, the Devourers have never retreated from a battle. They have always pressed forward until their enemies were completely destroyed. "Well," Marcus said, watching the enemy fleet jump away into faster-than-light travel, "they have never fought anyone who solves problems with duct tape and stubbornness before." 3 hours later, Marcus found himself back in Elena's quarters, fixing her bathroom light again. This time, however, he was not alone. A young alien named Telani was learning how to use human tools, while Elena documented the repair process for the growing database of human engineering techniques. "I still do not understand how you knew this would work," Telani said, watching Marcus tighten a loose connection with a simple screwdriver. "Because everything is just circuits and connections," Marcus replied, the same words he had said 6 months ago. "It does not matter if those circuits are made of copper wire or quantum crystals. Energy has to flow from one place to another, and when it does not, someone has to figure out why and fix it." Elena looked up from her documentation. "The alien refugees are asking if they can establish permanent colonies near human space. They want to learn more about manual technology and practical problem solving." Marcus finished his repair and tested the light switch. Perfect illumination filled the bathroom, steady and reliable. "What did you tell them?" "I told them that humans are always happy to teach someone how to fix things," Elena said with a smile. "Especially if it means we will have help the next time some advanced civilization decides to cause trouble." Zethkar appeared in the doorway, carrying a simple toolbox that Marcus had given him as a gift. "Marcus, I have successfully repaired the quantum resonator in my quarters using only basic tools and logical thinking. It is quite satisfying to solve problems with your own hands." Marcus packed up his tools and looked around at the small group that had become something like a family over the past months. "You know what the funny thing is? 6 months ago, I was just a guy who fixed broken lights. Now apparently, I am part of some kind of galactic coalition of practical problem solvers." "The Coalition of the Practical," Elena said thoughtfully. "I like that name." "Whatever we call ourselves," Marcus said, "the galaxy just learned something important. You can have all the advanced technology you want, but sometimes the best solution is the one that